Agriculture is urging anyone who gets these seeds not to throw them out. Instead, they want you to mail them to your local agricultural office with the original packaging. These mysterious packets of seeds are popping up in mailboxes across the country. They're often labeled as jewelry or small electronics, but instead, unsuspecting people say they're finding plant seeds they never ordered.
Go to every place that you go online shopping and change those passwords right away. I mean, these could have been ordered from places that you do frequent.
The packets come with the name China Post, but a spokesperson for China's foreign ministry claims the address labels on the packages were forged. The Better Business Bureau is warning people that it could be a sign your personal information has been compromised. It could be what's known as a brushing scam. That's when scammers send small packages to people who never made the purchase so they can create fake customer profiles.
It's theft of information. They're hoping you're going to write a review about it, and usually it's not from a really reputable source.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture says the seeds they've tested have been herb, vegetable, or flower seeds.
We have not found anything detectable as far as unknown compounds that would be dangerous to the public.
The USDA says people should not plant the seeds under any circumstances. Border Protection and state agencies are working to try and stop these seeds from entering the U.S. The U.S. Postal Service is also looking into it. In Washington, Samantha Manning, Boston 25 News.
Boston 25 News at 6 starts right now.
We are on a weather alert tonight at 6 as we track Isaias, the storm now hitting parts of Massachusetts and New England. Live look now in Plymouth, where you see some gray skies there over the water as the storm continues to move across the state. Thanks for being with us. I'm Vanessa Welch.
Hey everybody, I'm Scott McDonald in for Mark. Down trees from wind and rain, one of the main issues we've come across so far tonight, and with those issues come outages. That number just continues to grow. Right now, more than 121,000 homes are without power across the state. You can see the map here. Towns from just about all counties have now been impacted. Vanessa, I've been refreshing that, and about every 10 minutes, it grows by 10 to 20,000 customers. So that's a story we'll be watching for the rest of the night.
Yeah, this has been happening all afternoon. Let's head over to our team of experts now, starting with Chief Meteorologist Kev Lemanowitz. And Kev, thankfully, the worst of this storm is starting to move away from us.
Almost all of us are out of this already, so it'll be a better situation to get power restored tonight with improving conditions. We certainly saw it come down pretty quickly this afternoon. The heavy rain, the strong winds moved in as the storm was rolling on through. That's what it looks like right now, and that's the storm that's pushing off to the north. That's Isaias. You know, we've been talking about that all day long. And when we go in closely, you can see some of the storms that are out there right now and some of the downpours that are moving on through. The red outlined area is a tornado watch. It's in place until 9 o'clock tonight, but it was in place for Connecticut, Rhode Island, and western Massachusetts too, and then that was canceled because we didn't have to have the conditions there anymore, the potential for that. Eastern and central Massachusetts, I believe it'll be canceled very shortly, but here's where it's still coming down hard. I take you to the Merrimack Valley and the North Shore, some heavy rain up there around Haverhill, for instance, and Plattstown, New Hampshire. But look, this is your velocity scan. We're looking for reds and greens. All you're seeing is reds. There's no rotation up there. Then to the southeast of there, we go over to the coastline, Plum Island getting heavy rain, over to Cape Ann, spots getting some downpours, Manchester by the Sea a downpour right now. Again, maybe some gusty winds, but nothing rotating. To the South Shore, heavy rain here. You saw the pictures from Plymouth. Nothing happening at that live shot. You go toward the bridges, you'll find some heavy rain and certainly some downpours through Carver and Wareham. But again, nothing really showing as far as rotation. Now, when you look into some of these storms in here, you start to see some, what looks like there could be some reds and greens next to each other. I want to keep an eye on that just to make sure, Jason. But overall, once this line goes on by, we're going to see some improvement because this storm, this tropical storm, she's moving.
It is moving at 40 miles an hour to the north-northeast, Kevin, just racing on by. Those wind gusts, though, continue to trickle in. That band that just came by the South Shore, Marshfield, just reported 63. Had that at Milford as well. Boston and Worcester, the low 50s. So talking about those 50 to 60 gusts inside of those heavy downpours that are coming through. There goes the storm racing into Canada here, right across northern New England tonight. We have been seeing a little storm surge here on the south coast, still under that coastal flood advisory as well as the sea coast. But look, we talked about the heavy rain staying closer to the track out here. Look at that sharp cutoff. Even Westfield, not even a half an inch of rain. Hartford, a quarter of an inch. But then you got here and you started to see those inches of rain. Officially 0.17 in Boston with that fast hitting band that just rolled through. And as Kevin mentioned, we continue to monitor the Cape and still some spin in the atmosphere, particularly as you get into northern New England. We'll continue to watch New Hampshire.
Jason, thank you. Taking a closer look now at some of the damage reports that are coming into our newsroom as we learn the number of power outages. They've now grown to more than 141,000 people in the dark right now. This huge tree, as you see here, came crashing down in Taunton. A viewer shared this picture with us. It's blocking Davis Street, and that tree did bring down some power lines with it as well. And a viewer shared these photos with us from Hopedale. Another tree came crashing down in the Parklands. Thankfully, it doesn't sound like anyone here was hurt. And a tree fell onto this SUV parked in a driveway in Sturbridge. The SUV's owner shared this photo with us. Thankfully, her windshield was not smashed, but it was a close call there.
Yeah, for sure. We have crews spread out all around the state checking out some of these damage reports.
Right now, Boston 25 News reporter John Monahan is live in Plymouth, where there are some very strong winds out there. John?
Strong winds and the rain is coming down sideways again. It's on and off here. I thought the worst of it was over, but it seems to be picking up again right now. So we got here about 5, and about 5:15, those winds started to pick up very strongly. The skies got dark and ominous, and right around 5:15, those winds were blowing basically sideways, knocking people off their feet at some points. Boats out here in Plymouth Harbor, where we are, were riding the whitecaps as the winds blew through. Now, we saw a lot of people who were out here walking. They were on scooters, even skateboarders are out, and none were making much headway against those strong winds. All of them also caught in all of this, which blew in suddenly. That was about 5:30. The skies just opened up and torrential rains blew sideways. The rain all of a sudden would stop, then it would come down again. Much of what we always see during these tropical storms, but overall not too much rain fell in an area where there is a great desire to see some rain. It's been a long time since we've had some wet weather. The wind, though, is the real strong thing going on here. I'm surprised there wasn't any tree damage. Some of these trees are actually blowing sideways as we stood here watching, but within about 15 to 20 minutes, the worst of what we've seen had pretty much blown through. Back on camera live now, if you can see behind me, it just got cloudy and the rain kicked in. There was some blue sky off in the distance. That's to the north. We're basically in Plymouth Harbor, so we're looking up toward Kingston in that direction. But I'm looking this way, and Anthony, if you can turn the camera this way at all, it is dark. The skies are gray. The rain is coming down again and torrentially right now, as you can see. So it looks like some of these bands are still coming through. We'll be out here in Plymouth and on the South Shore as the storm blows through. You can see here it comes again. And we'll keep you posted as Plymouth hunkers down during this torrential downpour. We're live in Plymouth this afternoon. I'm John Monahan, Boston 25 News.
Nasty wind and rain out there. John, thank you. Stay safe for sure. Hey, I want to tell you about these power outages right now. 172,000 people without power right now. As you can see, all the green and the red and the orange, those are all outages, and the white is no outages. So most of this state really covered with power outages right now and in the dark. Just to focus in on a few towns and cities hit the hardest now. Rehoboth, over 2,500 customers out. Swansea, almost 5,000 people without power. Northborough, over 3,500 customers affected. Wilbraham, over 4,000 out in Western Mass. Great Barrington, over 2,000. So one more time, over 172,000 people without power. We've been watching that map throughout the newscast. We started at 4 o'clock, and it's just exponentially grown. Every 10 to 15 minutes, it increases in a big way. So we'll be watching that. That's a story we'll be keeping track of for the rest of the night. Out in Leicester tonight, a tree fell, crushing 2 parked vehicles. Here's some video. It included crushing that pickup truck right there. Wow. Boston 25 News reporter Lisa Pappas was out there. He shows us the damage.
Luckily, no one was hurt, but there was significant damage here. A lot of that has been since cleaned up, but you can see where this large tree is now cut up into pieces. This is where that pickup truck was crushed earlier, and further down the street, you can see utility crews still on scene here trying to restore power after several power lines came down during the storm. If you take a look at our video, you can see a pickup truck that was just crushed by that tree that came down. In fact, 2 trucks were smashed here on Mulberry Street. I spoke with a man who was here working on a construction project nearby. He says it was like a light show when those charged wires came down, and he actually didn't notice much wind before this happened.
And we heard a crack, didn't think too much of it, and another crack. We turned around to see what it was. and a very large tree very slowly just came down. All right, we lost the first pickup truck, and then the trunk came down, and we said, well, there goes the Denali too.
Back out here, you can see the cleanup continues as utility crews continue to restore power after the storm damage. This is just another reminder to keep an eye, especially on those old trees, as high wind gusts continue throughout the night. In Leicester, I'm Lisa Pappas, Boston 25 News.
Lisa, thank you. Also a good reminder to download that Boston 25 weather app and to keep it handy tonight as we continue to track Isaias. If you lose power or you can't be by your TV, that way you can stay up to date right on your cell phone.
The state's health numbers are slipping, and the governor's saying action may need to be taken if that does not improve. In fact, effective Friday, Rhode Island will be removed from the Department of Health's lower risk states. That's for the new travel order in Massachusetts.
Let's take a look at today's report for you now. 9 new deaths were reported today in Massachusetts. That number continues to remain low, but it's the case count that's really troubling. 438 new cases confirmed today. That's up hundreds from yesterday. The positive test rate is also up now at 2.2%. The governor reporting it's a concerning trend. Boston 25 News reporter Robert Goulson was at today's briefing and asked the governor what changes the state could be facing.
The governor says the health data numbers will continue to dictate the reopening process, but he would not elaborate on how dialing back the reopening would happen if need be.
We'll be forced to adjust our plans if the data warrants it.
Governor Charlie Baker talked about the state's slipping COVID-19 health numbers. The state had a 7-day average of about 1.7% since mid-June, but in recent days it went up to 2%. The governor says the rising numbers could impact the reopening or even turn it back.
That could mean gathering sizes could be reduced, or we could make some of our business regulations more strict. Reopening and staying open is obviously a big part of the goal.
The World Health Organization recommends the 7-day average to be under 5%. The governor telling us that is the number they have been working to be under.
It's critical for folks to remain vigilant in their daily activities. Please continue to wear face coverings, practice social distancing, and stay home if you aren't feeling well.
The governor says people cannot let their guard down.
But I understand it. I mean, week after week, month after month of paying attention to this rule book and to these guidance associated with both private behavior and business behavior is hard to do.
The governor says they are also working on a plan to do mobile rapid testing at schools for when they reopen. In Newton, Robert Goulston, Boston 25 News.
Parents and educators are no doubt anxious about the future.
They should know in a matter of weeks what will happen with school this fall. Boston 25 News reporter Joy DeMandin sat in on an important meeting among the state's education leaders to get an update on the critical decision that they're facing.
When the school bell rings on a new academic year, the halls will look a lot different.
It will be the creativity of our teachers pulling together with our school leaders and our partners to make that happen.
School districts across the Commonwealth are firming up plans as some of the top education leaders took part in an online discussion.
The evidence says that people should open, but we also, what we're demanding is that you prepare for all 3 contingencies, because we just don't know what the trajectory of the virus is.
Budgets, second spikes accompanied with the social and emotional development of children are all concerns taken into consideration in planning for a return to school. The DOE commissioner approved a 170-day school calendar, allowing educators the extra 10 days to prepare for this new normal.
All of our decisions when we think about how to get school up and running again are really based on the medical professionals, the medical community, and what they're telling us what to do.
Meanwhile, the superintendent of Boston Public Schools said they're aware of the 170-day option and are working with teachers on this flexibility.
We're going to be probably failing at some things as we try to fail forward and try new technologies in the classroom and try new technologies with students, both online and in the hardware.
For Michael McGuire, who's both a high school teacher at Boston Latin Academy in Dorchester and a public school parent, he's adjusting to whatever school officials decide.
As far as in-person instruction goes, I'm comfortable with it, provided that there can be enough resources such as hand washing stations, either masks or just the students feel comfortable and with some crowd control.
In the past, he's had upwards of 30 high school students per class. For many parents, the watching and waiting is putting on hold any other household scheduling.
But from my point of view, the sooner they can come to whatever plan they're going to use and let us know, the easier the anxiety all around will be.
Schools are an extension of home.
Families can expect to learn what school schedules will be within the next week or two. Joy Demandin, Boston 25 News.
A squall line coming through the area, about to come through much of Cape Cod and the rest of the South Coast. You saw Plymouth and John Monahan getting hit with that last time he was on. Once that pushes by Cape Cod, we're going to get better real fast tonight.
School bus drivers telling 25 Investigates they are concerned about being the first line of defense against coronavirus.
I'm not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell how somebody else's kid is feeling if they're sick.
New tonight at 6, our team takes a closer look at the state's school bus guidelines that's asking drivers to flag symptoms of COVID-19.